You are looking live at Nothing Personal. We're on YouTube right now, but you're here, you're watching. We are previewing the American League Championship Series. It's October baseball, and we have a night without baseball. What are you guys watching? Survivor? Let's talk American League Championship Series because it's the only one that we are guaranteed to know at the moment. Astros, Red Sox. You watch the other channels, the CBS Sports HQs of the world, the ESPNs of the world. They're all good, but they all want to talk about history. When you've been in the front office and you've run a team that's actually won something, I can tell you there's one thing that is never talked about when you're going into a postseason series. Never in the clubhouse, never in the front office. Hey, you know, we beat them 3 out of 4 back in May. Hey, we played these guys 3 years ago. That was my favorite thing in 2003 when we were playing the San Francisco Giants and people said, yeah, in 97 you beat the Giants. And what does that have to do with anything? It's a totally different team. It's a totally different year. It makes zero sense to me. So you're going to see stats. Everyone's into the stats and the analytics. Here's who's hitting what against the Red Sox this year. The Astros went 5-2 against the Red Sox with a team batting average of .370 Gimmel. Their ERA was 2.75, but their bullpen ERA was 7.26. And I say they might as well all be .69 because it doesn't matter. What are the keys to winning a 7-game series? Hold on, let me think about it. All right, I got it. Pitching. Period. End of sentence? No. You need more than pitching. You need luck. You need 2-out RBI. So who's in a better position? I've been thinking about this series. I've been looking at it back and forth, studying all the stats and the analytics. And then I was wondering, hey, Lance, how's your forearm? I was looking at my forearm and thinking, if he really has forearm tightness, that's Lance McCullers. That's the only guy who has double digits innings pitched in the series against the White Sox. He is the #1 starter for the Astros. It's no longer Zach, I'm overpaid Greinke, who pitched 1 inning in relief because shockingly he was hurt. So Lance McCullers leaves the game. Dusty Baker walks out with his gloves on and his sweatbands. I got a little detour, Coke, on Dusty Baker. When he would be the manager of the visiting team and come to Marlins Park at a pro player, the visiting clubby knew exactly how to prepare for Dusty's arrival. And we're not splitting the atom. We're not giving away any secrets here. Although I do have a source who I need to check with whether I can say this. At his desk in the manager's office, he had 2 sets of sweatbands. Is that what they're called, Coca? When you put the thing around your wrist and you can pad your forehead with it? He wore one on each arm, one on the left arm, one on the right arm. And then, wait for it, a toothpick that had to be placed horizontal, perpendicular to the sweatbands that were vertical. So if you're watching on YouTube, well, of course you are, we're live. That's how Dusty Baker got ready for games. So he's in. So now Dusty Baker has the COVID black gloves that he wears, and I want him to stay safe. I don't want anything to happen to Dusty. He happens to be a good guy and helped us get a ring in 2003 because of his poor use of the pitching staff. With the Astros, he's out of pitchers. He's not leaving in these Astros pitchers too long, or is he? He left McCullers in. Do you remember we talked about it on Nothing Personal? Anybody remember when we said, Coca, you didn't cut this clip and you could have? And we could have released this after game 1 when the game was well in hand and McCullers pitched an extra inning and Ryan Presley was in. And we said, ooh, it's going to come back to haunt him. And now all of a sudden Lance has, forearm tightness. Well, if he can't go, who's going to pitch? I guess they're going to have to hope that Urquidy and who else? Garcia? Greinke? You're going to count on that? Well, don't worry. The Red Sox have way better pitching.
David, we're bringing in our Red Sox guest right now.
Oh, is it time?
It's time.
He's here? Guess who we have live? There he is. Perfect timing, Will Middlebrooks. Welcome to the Nothing Personal.
I was just listening to you get revved up on my socks.
I was just about...
Take that however you'd like.
I was just about to lose my mind saying that everyone thinks that the Red Sox pitching is better. And with Lance McCullers with forearm tightness, it may be. So if you're Alex Cora, and I've been calling him Joey for 3 years now, but Alex Cora, and he's setting up the rotation, you have Evaldi first. By the way, this is Will Middlebrooks. You may know him as the world champion from the 2013 Red Sox. I may know him as the man we tried to trade for 5 different times, and the Red Sox would not trade this guy at all. Will Middlebrooks, unavailable. What can we give you? Anything. Nope. Untouchable. Meanwhile, I walk into CBS Sports HQ day one, and I meet Jenny Dell, who was a anchor at CBS Sports HQ, and we start talking. Questions, hey, what do you do? Who's your family? Yeah, I'm married to Will Middlebrooks. I said, Will Middlebrooks? Like the Red Sox Will Middlebrooks? And Jenny said, hell yeah. I said, now that's a catch. And then I got to meet you, Will, and I love working with you. Welcome to Nothing Personal.
Hey, I'm happy to just finally be here. I'm honored.
So can we get right into it? Because you're a Red Sox guy, and I know you're going to pimp the Red Sox, but you're looking at needing to win 4 out of 7 against the Astros. You're hoping that McCullers has the forearm tightness, but where are you going after Evaldi?
Well, if he does have the tightness, I still like Evaldi against McCullers. As good as he is, that offense in Boston has been – they had a couple of cold streaks this year. I get it, but they still finished the year 3rd best in the league, and in the postseason they're hitting – here, let me check my notes here. 328 in the postseason. They're killing the baseball right now. Their top 5 in their lineup are really hard to get out. They seem like they get 2 hits every game.
How many games has there been, Will? Hold on. How many postseason games have there been for the Red Sox?
You were going to start calling me out already? You had a wild card game and then 4 games in the ALDS.
Okay,
5
games. So what we were talking about with our audience is all of the networks that right before you called in, or I don't know what you did. You streamed in, you did whatever you did. Yeah. We talk about history with the team and what they've done and who's hot, who's not. Are you willing to say as a player that 5 games in a postseason and you're willing to talk about trends?
5 games in a postseason can 100% give you the momentum you need, especially playing in a place like Fenway, beating a team like Tampa that they weren't supposed to be. This team, Red Sox, weren't even supposed to be in the playoffs. They projected by 3 different analytical systems to have 78 to 81 wins. Well, they had 92. I know that's just the system. I know there's no human aspect to that, but 92 wins. They beat the Yankees and send them home, which was a huge momentum builder in my eyes, just because they were picked to lose that game too. They weren't supposed to beat the Rays. Let's be honest. The Rays are a better team, but the Red Sox are hotter right now. Will these days off hurt them? I don't think so. I think their bullpen needs rest. I think Nick Pivetta, who's their unsung hero, needs rest because he's going to have to start because I don't think Chris Sale is going to be able to start. I was watching him throw 93 miles an hour, 0-2 fastballs down the middle to Luplow, hitting them 900 feet. You can't do that.
You can't do that.
I don't care who you are.
Well, someone's hot because a ball went off Renfroe's ass into the out of bounds, out of play, and all of a sudden Yandy Diaz doesn't score, and then you get a Vasquez.
Okay.
I mean, is
so
that
if he does score? If he does score, it's a 1-run game, right? They're up 1, and then Vasquez, it's a 2-run ding dong. You still go home.
I love it. I love you're such a homer.
I knew you were going to say
that. But the reality is, and I'm in the Rays were my pick to win the World Series. I think the Rays were a better team than the Red Sox. I think they're still a better team, but I absolutely agree that at the end of the day, it's not just who's hot, it's who gets the breaks. And when you look at what the Red Sox did and how they beat the Rays, that's a close series with 2 walk-offs, right? And when in a 7-game series, winning the 3rd game is important, obviously, but you got to get 4.
Yeah, and you got to get lucky. You got to get lucky. You're right. You got to get lucky. And we watched a Tampa Bay bullpen that carried them the past 2 years. They were exhausted. They carried them last year in a 60-game season, so in the postseason they were fresh. But they threw 700-plus innings this year, and then they were tired by the time the postseason got here. And they had 1 or 2 starting pitchers that could go more than 5 innings. They were exhausted. That's what hurt them. And then the bullpen for the Red Sox, who's been imploding for half the season, figured it out. And it's because they changed the equation. All of a sudden, Matt Barnes, who wasn't even originally going to be on the ALDS roster, but because of an injury, he had to be. Ottavino, those guys aren't even throwing. We're looking at Whitlock, who they picked up as a Rule 5 from the Yankees. Robles, they picked up. Tanner Houck, who's been a starter all year, who's been phenomenal out of the pen. And then Nick Pivetta, like I said, is through 4 or 5 innings in 2 different games and saved their butts.
Are these guys just playing to go second place to the Giants or Dodgers? Because when I look at the bullpen of the Astros, Presley's fine. He's fine, but he's not. He doesn't, to me, he doesn't scream World Series champion. I guess Will Smith may not either for me. Kenley Jansen sort of does, but Will Smith doesn't. But I look at the Red Sox and then I look at the Astros, and then I wonder from an intangible standpoint where we're sitting here. And the Astros, they've got a Empire State Building size chip on their shoulder. Yeah. Right? When you listen to Carlos Correa and you listen to Dusty Baker, not as much. Altuve doesn't talk a lot about this, but they want to win another World Series without buzzers and garbage cans, so everyone will finally shut up. But of course, even winning will not stop the chatter. So the intangible here, doesn't that go to the Astros in terms of their talent and then wanting to win, which is such a critical part of this?
I think the Astros are the better team. I do. I think both bullpens struggle. I think there's issues and flaws within both starting pitching staffs. And they're 2 of the best offenses in baseball. So it's going to come down to offense. But when you start breaking down the offense, you start looking at postseason experience. And I'm looking 1 through 7 for the Astros can bop you and get you at any point in time. There's 7-hole hitters, Kyle Tucker, who's throwing barrels line to line right now, foul pole to foul pole. Then, you got Martin Maldonado and Myers in the 8 and 9 hole, who they're probably not going to do much, but they're good defenders, so they're in there. And then the Red Sox, I think it's like 1 through 5, possibly 1 through 6 can get you. I think this is going to be more of an offensive series than you expect to see in a pitching dominant series most of the time. The CS series are normally pitching dominance, aces going at it, the unders hitting all over the place. I don't think we see that in this series.
Did you see Myers hit the wall in the last game and get taken out of the game? I felt like his shoulder may have been inside his chest cavity. He went so hard into the wall. The thing about the rosters, what the GMs are doing right now with the series starting on Friday, and today is Wednesday, they're working on the roster right now. You've got the president, you've got the GM, you've got the manager, and then in another room you have the hitting coach and the pitching coach. And the trainers, they're on call. The doctors are on call. And you're starting to put together what your roster is. What we would do is we would try to guess the other team's roster as well as putting our roster together. And we did that every series. We did not bat 100 ever. It is impossible to predict what and who will be on another team's roster. And the Red Sox have some decisions, as do the Astros, because if you've got a player hurt, and it's an existing injury, and you cannot remove him from the LCS roster once he's named to the roster unless he's hurt in the LCS. If he's just sitting on the bench and not playing, that's your mistake. Now, they could put him out there and tell him to run into a wall even when a ball's not hit to him and say, oh my God, I'm hurt, and then remove him from the roster.
There's ways around everything. You know
that. Certainly are. So as you're putting together a roster for a 7-game series, we always put a focus on carrying the extra pitcher. And now with the way pitching is used where no one goes long, I'm even more concerned about pitching over a 7-game series, given that we're coming off a 60-game season. As you said, the pitchers are exhausted. You can see sort of pitches flattening. You can just see spin is not as sharp. It's just, even though these guys are blowing 97, 98, you're talking about the rule of me. Listen to what you said, Garrett Whitlock. That's going to be a World Series bullpen arm.
Why not? Hey, not to bring up another subject, but I hate talking sticky substance, but that's another reason you're going to see. If you start seeing some cold weather games, some games in Boston when it's 50 degrees, guys aren't going to have grip without that stuff. Even without sunscreen and rosin, which most hitters will tell you, that's fine. We don't care. We don't want to get hit in the jugular by 98. If it's just rosin and sweat, that's how you get stick now. What happens when there's not much sweat? Rosin is slippery. It makes the ball worse when it's not wet. So you're going to see some command issues when it comes to that when they're playing in Boston. But yeah, as far as extra pitchers go, I think that's definitely the way to go. You named it. You nailed it. Pitchers, if you go 5 innings, that's awesome now. It's amazing. But I would say advantage Red Sox in that, and you're going to call me a homer, but they have 2 guys in their pen who are starting pitchers. Tanner Houck, who started most of the year, who's got the best slider in baseball, and then Nick Pivetta, who I don't know if he's going to be in the pen this series. It depends on what they decide on with Sale. I think Sale's going to be in the bullpen. I talked to some people there when I was in Boston a couple days ago, and
Who?
I'm not telling you.
Oh my God! Wait a minute. Are you that? Is your name Adam Schefter?
Okay, I didn't talk to anyone in. I'll tell you this much: I didn't talk to anyone in the clubhouse about it. I talked to a couple writers about it who are plugged.
They're all plugged. They have sources.
They have sources, right? Sources. But his velocity is an issue. They think he's cashed. They think he's exhausted from the rehab and Tommy John, and he's just he's just fatigued. And his command's not there because that's the last thing to come from Tommy John, and you probably won't see his command back to where it was until next year. They're just getting as much out of him as they can and squeezing that lemon and getting as much juice as they can. It's going to be out of the bullpen for him to be successful. He's going to come in against lefties with a wipeout slider and be good. He's not going to be good for 3+ innings. I don't think so.
What an emotional signing Chris Sale was. Do you remember all the pressure in Boston to sign Chris Sale to that extension? It was insane. It was being written about every day. You got to sign him. You can't lose him. And then you sign him, and Tommy John, and he's getting paid 30 large. And frankly, he's a shell of what he used to be. He's not a number 1 or number 2 starter anymore. And you ask, will he be in the bullpen? He's probably a candidate to start a game 4 in a 7-game series. If it's 3-1 Red Sox, he could go in, or 2-1 Red Sox, he could pitch a game 4. But I agree with you. I don't see him as a game 2 starter, except for his name. And when you're putting together who's going to start, in the playoffs, you cannot worry about reputation. You can't worry about who's getting paid the most. If you're going to win a ring, and the Red Sox have done a damn good job of that, you have to go with who gives you the best chance. And right now, for me, that's Pivetta over Sale. Not even a question.
I mean, Eddie Rodriguez, who pitched a great game. He went 5+. He went 6 innings in Game 4 against the Rays. His last couple starts were horrendous. He went 1 2/3 against Tampa in Game 1? Yeah, Game 1 in Tampa, and got crushed. And then he pulled a rabbit out of the hat in Game 4, and that's just some of that momentum at home and whatever it may be. He figured it out, but I'm not trusting him. I'm not. He had a 4 ERA on the road this year and almost a 6 at home. That's scary for me in the postseason. I'd rather trust Pivetta. I'd honestly trust Houck more at this point. And then you have Evaldi. I'm worried about their pitching. If you can't tell, I'm worried about their pitching. But Astros have the same issues. I think Luis Garcia is good. I think Framber Valdez is good. We're worried about his finger or whatever's going on there with him. But this is going to be an offensive series. These are 2 explosive offenses.
I was thinking that maybe when we're looking at betting on this series and people are trying to figure out which side, everyone is saying over. So you know those circumstances when everyone is saying something and how rare it is for everyone to be right?
Exactly.
So it almost seems like Game 1 of Evaldi, and it's yet to be determined. I think it's Evaldi. I don't know who's going to pitch for Houston. They haven't announced it. I don't think they're going to until game time because they got to see what's going on with McCullers. Right. That's one of those things where it's going to be like 3-1 final because everyone is just assuming that the offenses are so unbelievable. But you never know in the postseason, and that's what makes this series so interesting. They're not looking ahead to the World Series. I know that because you don't want to do that when you're in the LCS, and you know very well what it was like in an LCS. You just want to get there. You just want to get to 4 wins and then worry about the next 4. When did you start the tightening of the sphincter when you saw yourself clinching and making it into the World Series? What inning? Because I've spoken to a bunch of my players about this. When do you start counting the outs in the clinching game?
Well, for us, it was a little different because we were playing the Tigers and they had Verlander, Scherzer, Anibal Sanchez in his prime, Porcello when he was throwing it really well. We were getting no hit in 2 games into the 6th inning. Perfect game into 1 by Anibal and ended up winning. So at no point were we thinking we're in. It was a fight till the bitter end on that one, but. So that came down to the last game, and we were thinking. I mean, it was literally the last inning when I was counting outs in that. That's how we shouldn't have won that series. So it literally was the last inning when I was counting outs there. Yeah, we didn't look ahead. I'm thinking as I'm going because we really didn't look ahead with the Tigers because they were so good.
The best team doesn't always get the ring.
That's it. Speaking of,
yeah. Oh, are you wearing it?
I have to wear it. Who would I be without it?
I only bring mine out during the World Series and bar mitzvahs. World Series, bar mitzvahs, occasional weddings, let people take photos.
Yeah.
Our owner, remember, you made this ring. It's huge, the Marlins ring from 03.
It is massive. It's like an NFL ring.
It is like an NFL ring. And Pat Riley, when the Heat won after the Marlins did, and Coke, I can't remember the year, but it would be the year with Shaq and Wade. So I want to say like 06, if I had to just guess off the top of my head. And Riley had seen my World Series ring, and he had said to me, hey, we're going bigger. If you look at the Heat ring from their championship, it is insane. Can we pull that up, Coca? Nah, probably not. All right, so I want to talk about what people are doing here because it's very bizarre. You can ask questions because we're live right now, and you've got Will Middlebrooks here, which is pretty rare to get an actual World Championship player who you can just talk to right now. And so I'm trying to see what would be a good question to start with, and they all seem to be about you, Coca, by the way.
Samson, I actually have a question for you.
Tell me.
Do you think how much are we going to focus on the cheating scandal here? Because it's Alex Cora versus the Astros.
So I have not, we got good content on Nothing Personal with the cheating scandal, but my position has always been clear. The Astros did nothing differently than any other team. They just got caught doing it. That's not true. That's not true. You're telling me you weren't stealing signs?
1,000% was not. I was not getting anything from the dugout ever in my career. Ever.
Will Middlebrooks.
What do I have to hide now? I have nothing to. If I ever got a sign, it's because we had it from second base and I had a hand on a hip, or I went to hat, or it's because I had the catcher signs, or I could see the grip in the pitcher's glove. I got more out of gloves than I did from catchers because catchers mix it up so well, especially in the minor leagues when the lights are like playing in a parking lot and you can't even see the signs.
Will Middlebrooks.
I swear to God.
I swear to God, Samson, you didn't have video people in your clubhouse looking at the sequences. Is that what you are telling me?
No. I'm saying what the Astros did was signaling from the tunnel noises when there were off-speed pitches coming. I never heard of anyone do that.
Nor did I. That's not what we said. We said
did we have video? Did we have guys in video inside telling us sequences?
Did you have anyone watching the game live trying to figure out the sequences and steal the signs? Yes or no?
Probably.
We all did.
Yes, but you said we did what the Astros did.
The Astros were banging garbage cans.
That was different.
We never did that. Because
our guys that were trying to figure out sequences anywhere at any level on any team were in the clubhouse. Our video guys were in the clubhouse. They weren't in the hallway where we could hear them or things could be given to us.
But hold on. But what they're doing is they're getting the signs and sequences in the clubhouse video room, and they're communicating with the dugout, who then communicates it with the players.
You want to hear something?
What the Astros did is they communicated it in such a crude, cocky way by banging a garbage can instead of going nose, chin, nose, cap, brow, wipe. Instead, they're banging cans for spin.
Right. So at second base, though, if the catcher doesn't want to change his sequence, that's on him. We know that stuff before the game. We know certain sequences, like this guy likes to go outs +1 or first sign, or we know certain pitchers that's in the scouting reports. We do know that. Every team knows that.
But then you're confirming it during the game. You know what
by watching it with our eyes. Oh. Like I'm at second base. If I ever hit a double, which didn't happen that often, it was a homer or a punchy, but If I was at second base and I could if I had a guy in that I knew was only a first sign guy or was only outs +2 or only seconds, whatever it may be, I could confirm it within 2 pitches if I already knew what to look for. So if I knew if I see a fastball and then a bunch of crap after that and he throws a heater multiple times, or I see a 3 go down and then a bunch of crap after that and he throws slider, I know he's first sign.
But Will, the Red Sox were not depending on you to be on second base to figure all that stuff out, because then they'd never get any information.
That's a great point. That's why I'm here.
No, the reason why you are here is A, you're good at what you do and good at analyzing, but B, you got hurt. That's the bottom line. It was not lack of skill. And believe me, I'd be the first to tell you if you sucked. Lack of skill was not your issue. You couldn't stay healthy.
That was a lack of skill. My lack of being able to stay healthy was a deficiency in itself.
Actually, that was the best skill you had. The lack of staying healthy was the best skill you had.
I was great at that. Yeah.
All right, we do have a question. How much insight does Alex Cora still have on the Astros even years later, and how helpful is that insight? So I want to give an answer, then I want you to give it, Will. When you are traded, let's talk about it, sort of different circumstance. When you trade for a player midseason, we would bring the player in, and we would do a dump, an information dump immediately upon him walking in the clubhouse. I want every sign. I want the hit and run sign. I want the throw to first sign. I want
first and third.
sign. I want to know exactly the indicators. I want to know the scouting report on every one of our pitchers, every one of our hitters. What are the trends? What are the tendencies? What do you see, and what can you tell me? So then the person you trade for dumps it all. And then what we do when we trade someone away and we're playing them, we switch everything.
Change it all up.
We change everything up because we know the person we traded to the Red Sox is telling them everything we do. So therefore, we are not going to do anything other than when we do those same signs that we think are being told to our competitor, we mean different things. So let's just pretend that there's a hit and run sign and we know that it's been given to the other side. We will give the hit and run sign and then not hit and run. The problem we have with players, and you're not one of them, Will, although I never had you with me, is that the players forgot that we changed the signs. And when we put the old sign up for hit and run, they're hitting and running.
We're robots, Sam. We're robots and we're creatures of habit, and we do the same thing every single day. We eat the same sandwich. We eat the same pasta. We sit in the same spot. We put our socks on the same foot every day in that order. And you want to change things in game 100? Good luck. Good luck.
I've told this on Nothing Personal. Do you remember Luis Castillo?
Of course.
So he couldn't know, he never knew one sign. We had to tell him. So we would just yell that's what we would do. We would give him the bunt sign with bunt, or we'd yell steal or run or whatever we do. And he was so good that we could tell the other side, the team, our opponent, what he was doing, and he could still be effective. But Alex Cora has been gone long enough that the Astros, they're under new management. Hinch is gone. Lunau's gone. Everything is switched up. And frankly, when you look at the players back from 2016, 17, who's left? Is it Altuve and Correa, and that's it, right?
Brantley was there too, wasn't he?
Brantley was not there during the sign stealing scandal. He gets booed as though he has the worst of anybody, because he gets booed as though he was on the team, and it turns out he was not on the team.
So he was there. Wait, when was his first year? 18 then?
Yeah, he's gone two-year deals.
Okay.
18, 19, 20, 21.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can get Altuve and Correa out because you have a better scouting report on those guys, you're just going to help your team a lot, a lot. And it really is like you share things with a coach like that when you're that close that you don't share with other people because you expect them to be there forever. You don't think like that. So when they're in the cage, when they're on the bench, they talk about things you don't normally talk about with coaches because that trust was clearly there. Think about the trust on that team because of the cheating scandal. You have to be like blood brothers to go through something like that and know you're breaking the rules to that extent. Those guys are talking about things about approach that they would never talk about with other coaches. So Alex Cora has an advantage in that sense. But then there's still the human aspect that a pitcher tries to go out there and actually execute that. But at the end of the day, they're still good hitters. So I don't think it's going to make that. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference.
Did you want to know what pitch was coming when you were hitting?
If I could know, absolutely. I wasn't good enough. Yeah, it helped me. A lot of guys like Altuve. So supposedly, a ton of guys I've talked to about the whole cheating scandal. I've talked to Josh Reddick about it, who I played with a bit with the Red Sox in the Red Sox system, and then he was obviously in Houston. He said Altuve didn't use the system at all. At all. Wanted nothing to do with it.
I'm not buying it, and I love Altuve.
Why?
I'm not.
Why would you not buy it?
There's not one hitter I've come across. Not one.
David Ortiz did not want to know what was coming.
Who?
David Ortiz did not want to know what was coming.
Is that just what he told you?
No.
You're telling me that he's not a better hitter if you know that
Bro, I have watched him. Okay, so most hitters sit fastball and adjust to off speed. I have watched him sit off speed and hit a rocket off the monster off a fastball when I know he's sitting off speed. He did in the World Series in 2013 when Game 6, Michael Wacha, a good buddy of mine from childhood, was pitching. He had a really good changeup. He's back when he was throwing 97, 98 with sink. And he said, I'm going to hit his changeup over the monster for a homer. And I was like, all right, bud. That'd be great. Please. I would love a ring. Next at bat goes up. First pitch, 98 down the middle. He fouls it straight back. And I'm going, I thought he's sitting changeup here. What are we doing? He's on dead on 98. Next pitch, changeup, pulls it foul, like way down pesky pole down that area. A couple pitches later, hangs the changeup, hits it over the monster for a home run. The very next at bat after he told me that under the tunnel. It was one of the craziest things I've seen. But the fact that he can tell me I am going to sit changeup and be dead on 98 is just special players are special players. There's no way around that. His brain, his eyes, his hands, everything just works differently, and that's why he's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
I don't know who AA is, but you're in the chat, and you're telling me that Jeter didn't want to know what was coming, Johnny Bench didn't want to know what was coming, and that Brantley came in
99.5% of players want to know what's coming.
There's no
especially
doubt.
now when everybody throws 100.
It's the amount of guessing that goes on with big league hitters. They won't admit it because they don't want to admit it. But big league hitters are guessing the majority of the time.
Adrian Gonzalez was the biggest guess hitter I ever played with.
Who was, Will?
Adrian Gonzalez. Biggest guess hitter. And he'll tell you, I'm a guess hitter. He would step in the bucket. He would step like towards the first base dugout sometimes because he was dead red on this guy's got to be thrown in. Now, he prepared and he did his video study and he was very prepared. So he had a good idea of what to guess. But that's why he would look so silly sometimes. He would corkscrew into the ground, and the next pitch, he'd hit a ball over the batter's eye. You're going, what the heck? It's the same guy. He's a guess hitter, but he was so prepared that he was such a smart hitter. He was able to guess correctly more times than none. That was not me. I prepared, but I thought too much in the box. So I would prepare, and I had this overload of information, and I would get in the box and go, all right, so 60% in this count, he threw it, and then by me, I'm dead.
You know, we had many players who we would sit down and we'd actually not allow them to go into the video room because they were so out of their mind studying every at-bat, every pitch sequence, and they thought that was the best way to do it. Like a little bit of eyewash, right? You're trying to look at every pitch and get ready for your next at-bat while they're really checking their phone, et cetera. But we'd say, hey, don't go in there. Just see the ball and hit the ball. Try that approach one time for us. Just see if you could see the ball and hit it. Because what happened is with analytics is we started giving the hitters so much information that their eyes would like glaze over.
Overload.
It's not smart.
No.
And David, it's the whole infield for the Astros is still on the team. So it's Bregman, Gurriel,
Bregman, yeah.
Altuve, and Correa. So it's all four of them were on the team then.
And that's it?
And Lance McCullers.
So Lance McCullers, he made some appearances, but he was not.
He was a rookie.
He was a rookie, right?
But that's it as far as starters go.
So that's still a lot of starters. That's 4 out of 8 starters.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. Okay. So Coco, what's your point?
Those are the players who were on the team when sign stealing was happening in 2017. They're still on the team now. It's the whole infield.
That's why they have a chip on their shoulder, right? And that's why they want to win. Is that our point?
You know what's still crazy? It's been 4 years. I mean, I know there was after it came out, there was 2020, and so we didn't really get to talk about it. But
hey, did Coca get that from the chat, or did he know off the top of his head? Because there's no way that Coca knew.
There's way too big of a delay
when they won the World Series.
No, I've just been sitting here for the right time to come in and say it, but you guys won't stop talking, and then you start talking about things that you weren't talking about before, and that's how you just forget that you asked. You only said 2 players were on the team when it was 4. So I thought I should jump in and be like, hey, you were wrong. You forgot these guys.
I was literally 100% wrong. Will, people don't believe Coca's a real person because during Nothing Personal, when on our regular shows that are not live, I talk to Coca, but he's talking in my ear. It's on YouTube Live that people hear his voice, and they think that he's just a figment of my imagination, like from Chasing Amy. but he's not. He's real.
He's a figment of my imagination. I haven't seen Coca in like 2 years.
Well, that's because after COVID, we bailed. We were doing the shows at the Nothing Personal studio in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. COVID comes, and all of a sudden, we've got people in their hazmat suits setting up home studios for all of us. And that's it. We never went back.
Here we are.
Look at you. By the way, is that Mariano and Jeter in the background?
Oh, yeah. You mean tell you a quick story on the Mariano jersey?
Because that's front-running crap right there.
Front-running. Those are two legends. Stop it. You just don't like – we won't get into Jeter. But anyway, so I'll tell you a Mariano story. I don't have a Jeter story. Not for you, at least. So Mariano, this is September 2013, 9th inning. He comes in. I take him deep. I take him deep to right field. We end up going to extra innings. We win. I come in. This is my second year in the big leagues. I come in. There's a Mariano jersey hanging in my locker, and I'm thinking, oh, it's just like one of Tommy the Clubby or something, one of the old guys, Lackey, those guys messing with me because I took deep, which is awesome. And this was like late in September. No, it was like September 10th. It was the day after my birthday, I believe. And get closer, and there's a note in my chair. I'm like, what the heck? And I noticed the jersey signed. Mariano Rivera, to Will, Mariano Rivera, last to wear 42. I'm like, that's awesome. What the heck's going on? So I opened the nose and envelope. It's a note. It said, hey, Will, I hope you always remember this home run. I know I always will. Last to wear 42, Mariano Rivera. I was the last guy to ever take him deep.
That is one of the great trivia questions of all time. The last player to hit a home run off Mariano Rivera is Will Middlebrooks.
Random, right?
That is
my claim to fame.
Amazing.
And how pro he was. I saw him. So Jeter's last game was at Fenway in 2014. And Mo came there because I did a pregame ceremony at Fenway to honor him, whatever. I'm in the cage hitting, getting loose before the game. I walk out of the cage, and he's standing there with his arms crossed. He goes, hey, Willie, how you doing? And I'm just like, this guy remembers me. It's the best closer of all time, and he wants to just come say hello to me. That's just how pro he was. So that's why his jersey's hanging.
Did you hit the home run off a cutter?
It was a cutter to right field.
That's all he threw.
Ichiro was playing right. He took 2 steps in, and it was like a pure New York City home run. He came running in and went, oh, no.
Do you know what I love about Mariano Rivera? Is that he's a Hall of Famer, a unanimous Hall of Famer. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but they should. He's a one-pitch pitcher.
Yeah, you know what's coming.
He threw his cutter. There's no guessing with Mariano Rivera. That's what makes it so unbelievable. You know what he's throwing, and you still can't hit it.
He started mixing more sinkers in later in his career. Remember, there was a legendary bat against Miggy Correa. Miguel was in Detroit at this point because it was probably 2012. I think it was 12 or 13, one of his last couple of years for Rivera. And it was just sinker, cutter, back and forth. And like 11, 12 pitches in, Miggy took him deep to dead center in Yankee Stadium. It was an amazing at bat, but it was just a battle. He never threw me anything but a cutter. He didn't have to, but against the elite hitters, he would mix it up.
Are you going to tell us why you have a Jeter jersey or not?
I just like Jeter. Sorry.
Just as a person, or did you ever?
I liked him as a player. I just thought he was pro. I don't know him on a personal level. I just thought he did everything the right way.
Did you ever run with him on the road?
I did not. No, I wasn't quite. I was a rookie when I met him. When I played in New York, I hit a double off CC Sabathia, left center, and then he comes over. Hey, kid, nice swing. Blah blah blah. Good to see you. Blah blah blah. Just whatever. He always comes over and talks to the rookies, and gets his picture taken so he can hopefully be hanging in their man cave one day.
And that makes him jersey worthy.
Yeah. Oh, so I like doing the double jerseys. I like doing the doubles. And I wasn't just going to have a Mariano by itself. So I needed another one. I had a Robinson Cano, but don't you know?
Did you take down Cano because of steroids?
Oh, no. I didn't take it down. I never framed it.
Because of steroids?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. So everybody else up there, who do we have? We have Middlebrooks in the middle?
Those are all mine.
No steroids for you, right?
0.
All the recovery from injuries.
Things.
Whoa! Stop giving me a.
There's nothing in there.
All right. Well, serious question about steroids then.
Okay.
With all your injuries, why did you not take steroids to try to heal faster, better, and permanently?
Because I respect the game. The game gave me a lot. It gave me a lot of opportunities, and I just thought I couldn't lay my head on the pillow at night and say, I did everything the right way. And I feel like that's something. I think that's just how I was raised. I think it was just how I think. I have respect for the game. And
But Will, you saw people doing steroids, so
I did. And it
We
was
all
hard.
did.
And it was very hard.
You're
It was very
competing
hard.
with them. You have to make money for your family, and you're not willing to do what other players are willing to do to get better.
It was hard. I thought about it multiple times. I was close multiple times, and I didn't do it. And I'm glad I didn't. I'd rather have a shorter career.
You know there's rumors that David Ortiz did. You know
He
there
never
are.
failed a test.
What?
Never failed a test.
He never failed a test. I'm not sure that's the criteria. David Ortiz happens to be a charitable, great guy. I know he's a close friend of yours, and I am not selling him because of his implication with steroids. I'm actually talking about the decision for David Ortiz is way different than for Will Middlebrooks. Will Middlebrooks, you did not make $100 million in your career. We talked about this. Jeff Conine and I'm getting this from Jeff Conine, who did not make $100 million either. And he had aches and pains and issues, and he would not do steroids while watching Brady Anderson do steroids.
That guy loves steroids.
Hit 50 bombs and get paid, and then never hit close to 20 again or whatever the number is.
Right.
And for you to have that, what's the word that I'm looking for? That respect of yourself and the game, that you're willing to sacrifice money. That is rare, Will. And there are not many guys who share the view that you have.
There's a lot more than you think. There's a lot more than you
I
think.
haven't met him, Will.
Well, you got to get out more.
I do have to get out. Right? Ever since COVID, I got to get out more. There's no doubt about it.
Hey.
I've become very socially atrophied.
Yeah, me too. I'm stuck in. I forget how to talk to adults. I talk to a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old all day.
Yeah, that's a problem. I've noticed
That's worse than
that,
just talking to yourself.
That is true. Do you just go around saying gaga goo goo? All right, I want to get back. Hold on, I'm coughing. Okay, I'm back.
Do you have a cough button?
I have a knob on my soundboard that I turn off when I have to cough, like this. Hear me, and then when I turn it back on, you can start hearing me again.
Okay, if you could just like bleep yourself, that's nice.
No, there used to be a push button on the set in Fort Lauderdale where I could do it. Is Jenny Dell in on this? Is she here?
I don't know Jenny Dell. She doesn't exist anymore. I know Jenny Middlebrooks.
Oh, did she? I thought her name was Jenny Dell.
I guess this is on screen, so I guess it can be considered Jenny Dell. That's her stage name.
I want to get back. Oh, there she is, Jenny Dell. He's a gem. I think that must.
Who's she referring to? Coca?
No, it may be me. Can't be you.
No, you're the one in a velvet blazer. I'm in a Lululemon polo right now.
It's corduroy.
Excuse me.
Is that velvet? No, it's corduroy. All right, I want to get back because I want to do some predictions right now. Because I want to know, is it guaranteed that you're choosing the Red Sox to beat the Astros in the ALCS? And if so, how many games? And who is going to be the MVP of the LCS? And then I'll give you mine. I'm gonna
go Sox in 7.
So winning game 7 on the road.
Man, Houston's a tough place to play. Yeah, I am. You know what? I am. I'm going to go MVP is Xander Bogaerts.
Okay,
we've seen TK hot. We've seen Devers hot. Bogey's hitting 350. I mean, it's only, like you said, 5 games. So I feel like he's the captain of that team. He was real cold at the end of the year, didn't help them much. And I had a good conversation with him after they won the other night, and he felt like he was letting the team down. And at the end of the season, when they were making the push and they weren't beating Baltimore, and then they played decent against the Nationals to get in, had a little help. But he felt like he let the team down, and he's really picked it up in the postseason. So I think he gets hot and plays really well.
What's interesting to me about your call is that I believe there's only one player on the Red Sox currently who you played with. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a couple scouts.
Player. How many players currently on the Red Sox did you play with?
In the big leagues, Xander Bogaerts is the only one. He was a rookie in 13.
And you happen to be choosing him to be the
That's
MVP.
not why. I didn't even think of that.
Okay.
Honestly, honest to God truth, I think he is the leader of that team. And I think he comes up big here.
Are you wearing the 70 from the Barry Bonds home run chase?
Say it again.
Is that the hat you're wearing? Is that
no? This is it's called Sub 70. If you see if it's below Sub 70, it's a golf company that I'll try not to put any huge advertisements on your show, but It's just a guy I have a relationship with that hooked me up with some clubs, and I like them, so I wear their stuff.
That's really nice of you.
Yeah.
But this is nothing personal, right?
Right.
They're not doing business here. Now we're talking. They got enough love for the – no, I'm just kidding. You can put it back wherever you want. All right, I am going to go with the Astros in 7.
Okay.
And here's why. I think the Astros could win this in actually 5 or 6 games, but I'm so scarred from what the Red Sox did to the Rays that I can't say the Astros are going to do that to the Red Sox because they're not. But they could. But I'm going to go Astros in 7. And here's going to be the difference. You mentioned a guy in the 7 hole, and I love KT, Kyle Tucker.
He's good.
He's not a 7-hole hitter.
Nope.
In my lineup, and as I'm putting this team together, looking at next year as an example, I know Correa is gone. I'm not signing him. Tucker's going to be a middle-of-the-order guy for me. So I've got Tucker as the MVP, and I've got the Astros winning in 7 games.
He'll definitely have some RBIs just because the guys in front of him are definitely getting on base. That's a fact. High score. I know we keep saying over, so it's probably going to go under. There's only maybe if McCullers is healthy, McCullers versus Evaldi is an under game. But outside of that, these offenses are nasty.
I will make you a deal, Will. If the Red Sox win, when we preview the World Series on YouTube Live, as long as Coca doesn't object and we see that the numbers are okay, we're going to have you back. Now, if the numbers suck because no one's listening or watching because you're such a homer, then we can have you back to preview the World Series if the Red Sox win. Do we have a deal?
Fine. What if the numbers are phenomenal and the Red Sox lose?
Then you can still maybe come back.
But so it's not about me. It's about you. Okay.
Oh, by the way, hi. It's always about me. It's enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think of me? Hey, Will, thank you.
Hey, I told you when we started, you told me, hey, I never have guests. I never have guests. I hate people. You didn't say that. You said people aren't smart enough to come on my show.
No, I didn't.
I'm lying again. I'm happy to be here, man. You know how I feel about you. We've talked about it a lot. You've helped me get to where I am so far in my media career, making the transition from the game. So I'll tap my Barry Bonds hat to you.
I appreciate you. And Christopher Walker, I'm going to do a shout out to you because you are new to the YouTube stream, which is nice. I appreciate you being live. I appreciate all that you do and all that everyone does by downloading, following, subscribing to the Nothing Personal with David Samson podcast, subscribing to this YouTube channel, which you did, which is why you are listening to us live. And remember, no matter what happens in the LCS, it's just business. This is nothing personal.